you're watching India Today Global with me, Ishita Mitra, and this is Race for the White House, a show where we get you the latest from the US election. On today's show, we'll tell you about the shocking new evidence that has emerged in Trump's election subversion case. Also on the show, we'll tell you about a new problem for Kamala Harris as the potential second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, is now accused of slapping his ex-girlfriend. All of this and much more, so let's get started. Well, just when you thought the Donald Trump legal saga couldn't get any more dramatic, there's always a new plot twist. Prosecutors have now rolled out some fresh evidence in the former president's ongoing election subversion case, and this time they're accusing Trump of something pretty bold, resorting to actual crimes to cling to power. The January 6 riots and storming of Capitol Hill by Trump supporters was a daunting experience for America. But now a new report tells us that the incriminating details that led to such a massacre. The special counsel led by Jack Smith unsealed a 165-page document detailing the compilation of new evidence. Now the fresh set of charges claim that the former president broke federal law in his efforts to overturn the results of 2020 presidential poll. Now this filing is the latest effort by Smith to illustrate that how presidential immunity does not apply to Trump's actions in this case. And this also comes just a month before the presidential polls. Now, according to the new report, Trump was warned by his campaign officials that there likely would not be enough ballots counted on election night to know who won. However, he decided beforehand that he would declare victory either way. Now, Trump repeatedly claimed that there was fraud in the election and directed the campaign and his lawyers to look into the case. Trump's team reportedly told him that there was no evidence of election fraud. Moreover, his vice president at that time, Mike Pence, also told Trump to take a bow and think about running in 2024. However, the report states that Trump thought it was too long to wait. The report goes on to say that Trump continued his plot to try to overturn the election. Trump reportedly called Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, pressurizing him to find about 11,000 votes to overturn the results of the election. Now, Trump and his conservative allies tried to twist the arms of legislators to appoint fake electors that could be counted by Congress. Now, Smith's report broadly outlines that Trump's plot to overturn the results of the election was brazen and a major threat to American democracy. And because of it, even today, millions of Trump supporters believe that the last election was actually stolen. Now, Trump has continued to raise the specter of election interference even in his current campaign, reiterating false claims of widespread voter fraud. His claims have now been echoed by his current running mate, Senator J.D. Vance. The case is currently delayed until after Election Day. Though the prospects of a trial are uncertain, particularly in the event that Trump wins the presidency. Political analysts, however, believe that if Trump returns to the White House, he will appoint a new Attorney General seeking the dismissal of this case. But one thing is for sure clear, that this case is far from over and the next chapter could reshape the political landscape of the United States. And now more on this, we're being joined by the White House correspondent Rohit Sharma. So Rohit, tell us, what do you have to say about the new evidence regarding Donald Trump's involvement in the Capitol riots?
Well, this comes at a time when, we've obviously are 30 days away from an election. Look, it is very clear that Jack Smith would not get this trial underway, which he's been intending to do since the start of this year. This was supposed to begin in the month of March. Then, it went to the Supreme Court and there was immunity granted to some of the actions that the president can take. And Jack Smith had to then rework his strategy. He had to, revisit all the evidence. And although he's done it in record time, since the immunity was probably granted to President Trump around like late June, if I remember correctly. So he's been able to get together with his team and refile these charges. A 165-page document was sent to the court. And there are some evidences that are now in public domain. And one of them essentially is that we all remember the infamous tweet that President composed and tweeted out about Vice President Pence not having courage to overturn the election. And now it turns out from what we've seen, that's been submitted in evidence that Trump himself tweeted it. And he was alone when he did that. And I think that sort of compels people to look at how he himself believed in overturning the election, going as far as asking Mike Pence to do it on his behalf. So that's concerning. And there are other evidences also about how he told his son-in-law Jared Kushner and his daughter Ivanka Trump aboard Marine One, where he essentially said, it doesn't matter if you've won or lost, you've got to fight and fight like hell. So I think if you read the entire 165-page document, there are things that Jack Smith believes would not grant President Trump immunity. And so there is the president with that he can do certain things when he's in office, and there is the candidate, President Trump, who's lost an election, trying to overturn the election. So I think it's significant. Again, we might not see the trial, and we might even never see the trial, because if Trump wins, he could very well have his Department of Justice just dismiss the case. But it is compelling, especially given the fact that it is in October, almost 30 days to election date. So I think there is a strategy, and they wanted to put this out in public domain. And as everybody's now taking note of it, trying to understand if Trump was responsible for forcing Pence and others in denying election results. And as you saw, and as we all saw yesterday, how even vice president candidate J.D. Vance was asked by Tim Walz about 2020 election, and he got a non-answer from J.D. Vance. So if they're able to prove this anytime, maybe if 6 months, 8 months time, if Trump were to lose election, I think that could probably change the narrative of some of the Republican leaders, and could give them a lifeline to say, what, this was discussed in the court and he was found guilty. So yes, he did lose the 2020 election. But as far as this election cycle goes, I think some independent voters will definitely take a note of it.
All right. So, what details do we have on Donald Trump's stance on 2020 election results according to Jack Smith's brief?
Well, there are, as I mentioned already, right, there are evidences about him texting people, talking to Steve Bannon day before the rally, when there was a point when Mike Pence, and we've seen those visuals of how Mike Pence was escorted out of the Capitol Hill. And at that point in time, Trump was told by one of his aides that this is exactly what's going on. The Capitol is under attack. And Trump's response was, so what? And that's not a presidential response. That's a response of somebody who is a candidate, who thinks that people can overturn this on his behalf. And I think that's the line the prosecutors would take. There are evidences about how he was spending time on Twitter, and how he was retweeting stuff. That was the day when his Twitter account was suspended, and it remained suspended for good close to 4 years, 3.5 years, until Musk took Twitter over. So those are some of the things, private conversations that have been entered as evidence to showcase that Trump was in fact responsible for January 6th, and wanted this election overturned.
Okay, so according to the investigation, how did Trump and his allies fabricate claims of voter fraud?
Look, there is a very and this is documented very well. Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and all these people were basically peddling lies, talking about voter fraud and talking about 300 some thousand votes that were casted by people who've been dead and whatnot. And we know for a fact that there were only 4 people, after all the investigation, that the courts found out that that it cast their ballots, and they all unfortunately died before the election results were announced. So there is that. There are private conversations with Rudy Giuliani, there are conversations with Sidney Powell, their internal strategy. There is evidence of Jack Smith interviewing some of the closest aides of Mike Pence and also of Donald Trump, and what unfolded on that day. And we obviously know that they've spoken to Stephanie Grisham. They've also spoken to a lot of other people who've sort of come out and said that Trump wanted, and he was directly involved with, inciting violence on January 6th, and then wanting them to overturn the election. So I think he's made a very compelling case here. But as I said before, it remains to be seen if this trial would even see the light of the day, because general assumption is, if Donald Trump wins this election, which looks like more than likely that he will, based on the polling that we're seeing. It might not, like, none of this would do anything. Essentially, we just go ahead and dismiss the case, and there could be retaliatory action for people who brought this case forward. So yes, this could be a big October surprise. We do not know. We'll have to wait and watch how the independent voters are looking at this, and we'll also have to wait and watch what Judge Chutkan does with this. She said that she wanted to have this trial sometime in October, or possibly sometime after the election. I think that's what it would be. They might want to have a trial date set in November, December, regardless of who wins. And then if Trump wins, then he could very well come back in January and dismiss the trial. So a lot of stuff out there still that hasn't been, that is not planned in a way that certain Democrats would want it to be. But it's definitely something that a lot of voters will be keeping a close eye on.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Rohit. We'll be coming back to you for more updates on US elections. It seems Kamala Harris might have some new trouble on her hands, but this time it's a mix of personal and political. The potential second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, has found himself in the middle of some very unexpected headlines. He has been accused of forcefully slapping his ex-girlfriend in France. So the story goes back to May 2012 in Paris, when the couple was having a romantic rendezvous in the capital city of France. 3 unnamed friends of Emhoff's ex-girlfriend reportedly told Daily Mail that he slapped her for flirting with a valet worker. Now, the incident transpired after an event at the Cannes Film Festival. One of the friends claimed that the woman called them immediately after the incident and informed them about the alleged assault by Emhoff. Now, the identity of the woman has not been revealed yet, but according to the report, she is now a successful New York attorney. So the bombshell report also says that Emhoff allegedly ended the Cannes trip early and returned to Los Angeles for his daughter's birthday. And the two never saw each other after the incident. So the outlet's report also suggests that Emhoff was unapologetic about the entire incident, and notably Harris started dating Emhoff in 2013 and married him in August 2014 while she was California's Attorney General. Now, this revelation comes just 2 months after Emhoff admitted to having an extramarital affair during his first marriage with the nanny. Now, you might be thinking how this will impact Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Some say this could be shrugged off as a tabloid fodder. After all, Doug Emhoff's charm and support for Kamala have made him a popular figure on the campaign trail. But others argue that any distraction, no matter how sensational, could take the wind out of Harris's sails. More importantly, this comes at a time when she needs to be laser focused on her election campaign. And let's not forget, the internet loves a scandal, but for Harris, this surely is a very unexpected twist. For now, let's just hope that this is the last time slap and presidential campaign end up in the same sentence. So if you thought Elon Musk was busy only with rockets, robots, and rebranding Twitter to X, think again. It seems like the tech billionaire has its hands in yet another pot, and this time it's not just a rocket launch, it's a big, juicy secret funding boost for a conservative group. Reports have now surfaced that Musk secretly funded a conservative political group known as Building America's Future for years. The funding began before his public endorsement of former President Donald Trump's re-election bid. Now, Musk's contribution to the right-wing organization began as early as 2022. And these donations, reportedly in millions, have significantly empowered the group known for its criticism of the Biden administration. Now, Building America's Future is a non-profit group that is not obligated to disclose its financial backers. And these organizations, often referred to as dark money groups, can support political causes without revealing the source of their funding. Musk had previously publicly maintained a stance of not favoring either major US political party. However, his donations to Building America's Future indicate his financial support for right-wing causes. Now, Building America's Future has been critical of the Biden administration on various issues, and this includes illegal immigration, a topic frequently commented on by Musk. Now, the organization also recently initiated a $10 million advertising campaign, and this was aimed at undermining support for Vice President Kamala Harris. So, was this just another Musk experiment? Or is he quietly shaping the future of American politics from his rocket-fueled tower of influence? Well, whatever the case, it's safe to say that this isn't the last time we'll hear about Elon Musk's secret side hustle in politics. And now it's time to talk in numbers. With just over a month remaining for the US presidential polls, the race for the White House is becoming quite intense. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris is still maintaining a narrow lead nationally and a neck-to-neck battle in the swing states. So let's take a look at the numbers at how presidential contenders are faring in polls today. According to the New York Times poll, Harris is still maintaining a lead at an approval rating of about 49%, while Trump is trailing at 46%. In the swing state of Michigan, Harris is maintaining a lead at about 49%, while Trump is at 47%. In the states of Pennsylvania and Nevada, Harris is again at 49%, while Trump is at 48%. In the state of Wisconsin, Harris is maintaining a lead at about 50%, while Trump is at 48%. Now, in the state of Arizona, Trump has taken a lead at an approval rating of about 49%, while Harris is at 47%. And in the states of Georgia and North Carolina, Trump is leading with about 49% approval rating, while Harris is at 48%. Time now for some quick updates from America's political battleground that you might have missed. First up, Donald Trump Jr. has ripped into Tim Walz with a scathing remark about his gender. Now, the debate, which was largely cordial, barring a few serious accusations, followed the one-off clash between Trump and Harris 3 weeks ago. However, it didn't take long for Trump's son to weigh in on this action. Taking to X, previously Twitter, Donald Trump Jr. posted, "I didn't know Tim Walz was a woman. I guess you never know these days." Now, the comments came after a news show implied that J.D. Vance was mansplaining certain issues to Walz during the debate. Next up, Melania Trump's yet-to-be-released memoir says that a woman has a right to abortion. Now, this comes as her husband Donald Trump is running for president by banking heavily on the ability for US states to restrict the procedure. Now, this comes as the former First Lady has been busy promoting her book despite being absent from Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. Now, abortion is a central issue in the 2024 presidential poll, with Melania Trump's views starkly contrasting those of her husband. And last, President Joe Biden has reaffirmed his commitment to support North Carolina in the wake of destruction caused by Hurricane Helene. Now, Biden pledged to cover 100% of all the costs for debris removal, emergency protective measures for another 6 months. Now, the powerful storm inundated the western part of the state with catastrophic flooding, destroying pipes, damaging water plants, and cutting off power. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Race for the White House. Stay tuned to India Today Global for more updates on the US elections.